This has never happened before. The armed forces of Ukraine are doing the impossible. The front is breaking and the enemy is losing control. Ukrainian forces are advancing. What is happening at the front is astonishing, and the enemy is drowning in its own defeats. Pokrovsk, the tension level is at its maximum. Kharkiv region, the armed forces of Ukraine strike with power and precision. The enemy has no chance. Russian equipment and manpower, all for nothing. Retribution is inevitable, even deep in the rear of Russia. Hell is unfolding and the world is holding its breath. All of this is happening right now. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. I am Solomia Dolik, and here are the latest events. "11,000 occupiers, an encirclement plan, Pokrovsk on the brink." Russia has thrown 11,000 enemy troops into the assault near the Pokrovsk agglomeration. The occupier is preparing an encirclement. They are trying to advance to the north and northwest of Pokrovsk. But Ukrainian paratroopers, like a rock, are holding every inch of the front, every meter our land. In 2 days, 90 eliminated, 42 wounded. Among the occupiers, armored vehicles, trucks, and more than 150 enemy drones have been destroyed, wiped out completely. This is not just repelled. This is a response with a tough character. Strike after strike, the occupiers are being taken out in the tree lines, trenches, and bunkers. The fighters of the 63rd Mechanized Brigade's Unmanned Systems Battalion are working with drones against moving targets, even when those targets are shooting back. Intelligence data, instant visual contact, fire correction, and the enemy receives a precise response. This is work of high speed and high lethality. Let's take a look. Meanwhile, new confirmations. An Oman lieutenant colonel involved in crimes in the Kyiv region has been killed. According to the main intelligence directorate, Veniamin Majarin was killed in the Kemerovo region as a result of an explosion. The car he was driving exploded. This officer served in the Oman unit, one of those involved in war crimes and the genocide of peaceful Ukrainians in the Kyiv region. In February-March 2022, retribution will come for every war crime. Let's watch the video to see how it happened. Meanwhile, in Donetsk region, the raddest group of the 93rd Separate Mechanized Brigade destroyed 5 more enemy suicide troops. The enemy continues to throw in cannon fodder. Cannon fodder, just meat. But our forces act tough and professionally. For every occupier, there's a drone, or better yet, several. Reconnaissance, targeting, strike. This is a system that cuts off the enemy's advance and saves the lives of our soldiers. Meanwhile, in the north, things are just as intense. Kharkiv region is once again under attack and is delivering a powerful response. The armed forces of Ukraine repelled 13 Russian attacks in the Kharkiv region. The Russian army tried to advance simultaneously in the direction of 4 settlements. According to the General Staff, in the southern Slobozhansky direction, the enemy attacked our troops' positions near Vovchansk and Kamyanka 5 times. And in the Kupiansk direction, there were 8 clashes. The defense forces stopped assault actions near Pishchan and in the direction of Shikivka. Ukrainian units are holding the defensive line and are not giving the enemy any chance to advance. And now, a story about excessive curiosity that ended explosively for the occupiers. A Ukrainian armed forces drone accidentally lured the occupiers out of their shelter and then self-destructed right next to them. Operators of unmanned systems from the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade demonstrated how curiosity turned against the enemy themselves. The video of the incident was published by pilots of the 2nd Mechanized Battalion. In the footage, you can see that the Ukrainian FPV drone, while carrying out its mission, got a bit stuck and didn't detonate immediately. But when the enemy decided to take a closer look, the drone went off at the very moment they approached. The result? A damaged motorcycle and at least 3 wounded Russian soldiers.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Russian assaults are failing in their own defeats. Ukraine is moving forward. While the occupiers are unsuccessfully trying to attack, the armed forces of Ukraine are going on the offensive. Our defenders are achieving what once seemed impossible. In just one day, Ukrainian soldiers recaptured 3 settlements from the enemy. See how the advance is happening in the following report.
In a single day, 3 Ukrainian villages were taken back from the Russian army. We're talking about the settlement of Sukitsky and 2 more villages in the Dobropilya direction, Kucheriv Yar and Uyut. Thus, as of August 21st, 2025, the situation in this area has been stabilized. Control has been restored over 9 settlements. Another 9 have been cleared of enemy sabotage groups. In just the last 10 days, 1,756 enemy servicemen and 75 pieces of equipment have been destroyed here of the enemy. The occupiers also suffered huge losses in their attempt to break through the Ukrainian front on a neighboring frontline sector. Thus, the fighters of the 33rd Brigade repelled a massive mechanized assault in the area of Volodymyrivka, Donetsk region. During the battle, the weather conditions were poor, which did not play into the occupiers' hands. At least 3 armored vehicles. The enemy got them stuck in the mud, and the infantry that began to disembark from them came under fire from artillery and drones. At one point, even HIMARS joined in to repel the Russian attack. As a result of the battle, the enemy lost 3 armored vehicles, 3 destroyed, 3 sunk, and was left without most of its infantry. However, the Russian army does not give up hope of breaking through our defenses, at least on some section of the front. At any cost, even if it means hundreds or thousands of killed soldiers.
Every day, basically, there is information that the armed forces have locally pushed the enemy back here or liberated territory there. In all directions, essentially, they are repelling some large-scale enemy attacks. Every day, in all directions, there are dozens of attacks per day.
The enemy is especially trying to push the armed forces of Ukraine out of Pokrovsk, turning it into hell. Enemy sabotage groups. There, they are storming the positions of the Ukrainian Armed Forces around the clock non-stop for the past several days. The situation in this area for the armed forces of Ukraine remains extremely difficult. However, despite all the efforts of the enemy, our defenders courageously hold their defense. Pokrovskaya.
The Pokrovskaya defense has been holding for more than a year. And the defense, well, how many thousands of Russians died there? Well, losses are over 200,000. This is the official confirmation of losses in numbers by foreign intelligence agencies. Second point. How much Russian equipment, how many Russian generals have they lost just in this direction? And that's just for now.
The Pokrovsk direction is the main topic of conversation for Russian propaganda. But when it comes to their so-called achievements on other sections of the front, Kremlin propaganda tries not to spread that information. On TV across the border, they're unlikely to show footage like this. Within minutes of detection, the border guards from the Guard Brigade's reconnaissance strike UAV groups destroy yet another enemy position. As a result, the occupiers lost at least 2 of their tanks, a vehicle, an antenna, electronic warfare equipment, and a significant portion of their personnel in the southern Slobozhansky direction. Despite everything, the Russians have not managed to achieve any significant victories either on the ground or in the air. The only thing the occupiers are good at is creating weapons of mass terror against civilians. A vivid example of this is the barbaric raid on the wind turbines near Kramatorsk. These are civilian critical infrastructure facilities. In this way, the Russians destroyed the 3rd wind power station in Kramatorsk. Before this, the occupiers attacked the wind turbines on October 22nd and 24th. Endless air raids on Ukrainian cities may become the Kremlin's new tactic. To this end, Russia is actively testing more and more types of its own drones. For example, UAVs with a ring wing. An unusual enemy drone was detected by a Ukrainian anti-aircraft drone. Its exact purpose has not yet been determined. However, it is assumed that it can perform both reconnaissance and strike missions. In total, over the past week alone, the enemy sent at least 1,200 drones towards Ukraine. They dropped more than 1,360 glide bombs and used over 50 missiles of various types.
Every Russian strike is an attempt to inflict as much harm as possible on ordinary life. This week, these are strikes on residential buildings, on our people, on children, and on civilian infrastructure. These are the main targets for the Russians. Thousands of strikes with various types of weapons in just 1 week.
And so the Ukrainian response to Russian terror is also not far off, military analysts assure.
Ukraine was, is, and will be. And sooner or later, Ukrainian Tomahawks will inevitably meet Russian decision-making centers.
And while the American Tomahawks are still on their way, the security service of Ukraine has shown off its own new acquisitions.
We are handing over this wonderful Magura V7, which has already achieved a number of victories.
The drone was purchased with donations from Ukrainians as part of a large-scale fundraising campaign that included domestic artists, influencers, and athletes.
This Magura Strike Marine drone is the first in the world to have destroyed aerial targets.
Thanks to just one such marine drone, the occupiers can suffer colossal losses. What is the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, talking about? And they promise to provide updates in their upcoming video reports. And
how do you assess the resilience of our defenders? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button under the video and stay tuned for the main news with me. More to come. See you in the next episode.